Hi, my name is Brady Jensen, and for presentation number 2, I chose to do it on case study 3-6, Benny and the Jets. In this case study, we have Benny Gordon, who is a recent graduate, got his master's of accounting from a university, graduated about 2 years ago, now works for Jet Energy Company, where he's a management accountant. Jet Energy Company is a electricity utility company who's regulated by the state of North Carolina, where they are based, and they service but about 7 million customers in the southern part of the state. So, they're a pretty big company. The state has kind of an allowance of how high of a return on operating income they can get before the state steps in and regulates. So that allowance is set at 12.5% return on operating income before the state steps in and regulates and potentially cuts prices that they offer their customers. So Gordon reports to the controller. So the company's set up in this way. Gordon reports to the controller, who reports to the CFO, who reports to the CEO. Also in the company, they have a chief compliance officer in place. They have an audit committee made up of 3 members who sit on the board of directors. So everything's kind of set up in a way to work smoothly. And, as far as reporting processes go, and everything is laid out in a great way. So that's, great that the company's got going. So after a while, Benny is working and he starts noticing a couple strange accounting entries made dealing with reclassifications of some accounting items to make the company's return on operating income lower. Some examples of these are rebates that the company receives from the insurers who insure their nuclear plants owned by the company. So based off of their safety records, the insurance company will issue a rebate to Jet Energy Company. And instead of, giving or putting these rebates back in the same account as they came from, or, the operating section, they are reclassifying these rebates and putting them into a non-operating section and classifying them that way as non-operating income, so that they don't pass this threshold, this 12.5% threshold of return on operating incomes. So Benny kind of looks into this further and realizes, this is actually happening a lot. And he's, assuming and drawing conclusions that it's to keep away from this allowance. So he kind of doesn't decide to say anything. He stays silent. But after 2 years, he decides and realizes that he needs to pass this information along and, let someone know about it. So the questions that the case asks are, first, what process would you recommend Benny Gordon follow in bringing his concerns out in the open? And do they include whistleblowing? I for sure think he should let the company know, let those inside of the company, maybe not the controller herself, because the controller is pretty hands-on in the accounting in that division or for that company. She probably already knows about it or is helping to kind of keep it under wraps. So I think it would be more necessary to go to someone like the CFO or even the chief compliance officer. I mean, that's their job, an internal auditor or something at the company. Maybe even the CEO, somebody in management who is able to find out about this and make changes and make things happen. Yes, if I do think it could include whistleblowing if he would like to stay anonymous. This could be an issue because then it might be hard for him to, follow up and see, did the right people who can do anything about this find out? Are they doing anything about this? So if he, just went to someone himself, it might be a little bit easier. Another thing it says is, assume you're Benny's best friend and he asks you for advice. Consider the following and putting together a plan of action for Benny to follow. So the first thing is, what are the ethical values that should be front and center in deciding how best to advise Benny on what to do? I think it's important for Benny and everybody in the company to realize, those who are being affected by this are the customers, the people in the state who are paying these electricity bills. They have the opportunity of receiving the electricity at a lower price, but because of this faulty or fraudulent accounting, they are being charged a higher price. Some reasons or rationalizations to anticipate that may be lodged by the stakeholders or others would be, you're kind of avoiding the state stepping in and regulating, or the state from benefiting from, being able to regulate this. Well, that might be true. And, maybe they argue that the state shouldn't be able to intervene. But, ultimately it's the people, these customers who are being affected by this, who could be getting it at a lower price but are not. So as final advice, final advice to give Benny would be to definitely come forward and tell somebody, if he does come and he tells people in the company about it and they act like they know and they aren't worried about doing anything, or they are just finding out but still don't act worried, nothing's going to happen. They're going to try and keep it under wraps and try and pressure him to keep it under wraps. I do think that maybe whistleblowing would be a great thing in this case, or, with the North Carolina Utilities Commissioners going straight to the North Carolina Utilities Commissioner so that they can step in, investigate this and, control it, and maybe get rid of those that are doing this faulty, or punished, so that it can be fair and the people of North Carolina or those customers of this company aren't being charged an unfair price. So that is my presentation and kind of what I would do in this situation. So thank you very much.